got a special interview with a sleeper draft prospect. All that's coming. Stay tuned.
Let's go get him. Let's go get him today, man. Let's go. Hey, dominate on three. 1, 2, 3. Dominate.
What's up, everybody? I'm sure from the title you can see who I've got on today, but I have one of the sleeper running backs today in the NFL draft who's been working his ass off in the entire process. That's Ezra Gray. Ezra, how you doing today? How you feeling?
Yo, what's up, Rohan, man? I appreciate you having me on, man. I'm feeling blessed today, man.
Of course. So, for those of you that don't know Ezra, essentially how I got to know him was I was with one of my friends, Tony, who obviously a lot of you know as Tony Ringini on Twitter. Shouted out Ezra, put out an entire highlight video on him. I started watching the film and I was impressed, definitely. And obviously, Ezra's been going through the NFL draft process. But before that, let's see who you are really as a person. So, first, talk through your football kind of life outside of you necessarily playing, because I know you have a good amount of football lineage in your own family.
Right, man. It's really from an early age when I was brought up, it was always about sports. And not honestly, it wasn't even like just football. I was big on baseball, big on running track and things like that. But the main thing that stood out for us really was football. My dad, he had a big football background, but he really shined in track and field when he was in high school. He had went to the state championships and everything for that. And mainly the main ones who I looked up to were my brothers. I had my oldest brother Enrique Davis. He ended up playing at Ole Miss. He was like a 5-star running back coming out of high school and things like that. And my other brother Ethan Davis, he had played defensive back at Troy before going on and spending a little bit of time with the Detroit Lions and then going and playing a little bit in the CFL as well. So really just seeing them, my brothers who I kind of idolized, like going up and playing football and things like that, it just really drove me to select football and really take it to the point that I'm at thus far.
Yeah, that's great. And I mean, I guess that football lineage kind of like set you on from an earlier path, right? Where you're like, I know this is kind of the direction I want to go, at least in sports. So, do you definitely think that that helped you maybe mature a little bit earlier than other players at a younger age because you already had a good sense about football?
Yeah, and it was just crazy though, because growing up, I wasn't the biggest or anything like that, but at the same time, like I knew I had some speed on me. It was
Right.
crazy because it kind of started. I want to say like I believe I was in like pre-K, and then it was like some older kids that had came out there with us on the playground, and like we were all just running and racing. And at that time, we didn't really know like what racing was. We were just kind of running, and from then on, like I always knew like my legs could move pretty fast. So that's helped me along thus far. But as far as the physical aspect of the game and the knowledge and things like that, I would say my learning curve, was a little bit better and quicker than others.
Yeah, I mean, you brought up a great point, right? You're not necessarily the biggest running back, but I think something that's attributed to you over the entirety of your career has been your worth ethic, not only on the field, but also off the field. How do you speak to that and how that's helped you get to the point where you are today?
Oh man, it's paid dividends, man. God has blessed me and put me in a position where I was able to shine not only on the field but like off the field with throughout different things as far as like the educational aspect. In high school, I was a pretty good student in high school, but it was just something in me, like, after I had graduated high school, like, I just wanted more for myself, like, everybody knew Ezra Gray, the athlete and things like that, but
Right.
I wanted to show that I was more than just a football player, not only for other people, but to prove to myself as well, and it started out, 3 days after I graduated, high school, we were on and popping at ASU. We were, reporting for summer training, so I was in summer school classes, and that first semester, I came out with a 4.0. So then
Ooh,
it
okay.
just it was just, like, dawning on me, like, okay, I can actually do this. If I actually put in
Right.
the time and work ethic in the classroom like I do on the field as well, we'll see how far that takes me. And it's truly been phenomenal. I haven't done it on my own. My parents, they always help me along the way, my brothers and my coaches as well. The people that the resources ASU provided us with and things like that. It all played a role in the big scheme of things.
That's great because I mean, obviously, to be at this level, you have to have some sort of not only football knowledge, but just the educational background in a way. And it shows off, like obviously with what you just said, a 4.0 with that first semester, it shows that you have not only the capabilities to take on an NFL workload, but also understand the nuances of how the NFL kind of works. And so that's great. But apart from maybe football, what other hobbies do you like to just do when you have free time, when you're not trading and all?
Man, believe it or not, I actually like to day trade, man. I like to,
Ooh,
yeah, man. I like to browse the market a little bit and kind of see different trading setups and things like that. And it was crazy because I've been trading now for about, I want to say I'm in my second year now.
okay.
Actually, I start all I know is I started in the middle of the pandemic when we started
Me
the
too. I know what you mean. Me
yeah.
too. Yeah,
Like when the whole pandemic hit, it was a big thing. Like with all that free time, I kind of wanted to learn a
exactly.
new skill and something like that. And over time, it just kind of developed into something, that I actually enjoy doing. I like analyzing charts from time to time, looking at different things. But day trade, if I'm not doing something like training for football or something like that, I'm probably looking at the charts, day trading and stuff like
Student on and off the field. You're
that.
embodying that. But yeah, I mean, that definitely takes up a good amount of time, I'd assume, analyzing when you're not obviously trading, analyzing that, and then obviously doing that during the day. Do you think though that, like football wise, do you think that those type of hobbies where you have to utilize your mind a lot, do you think that that's helped you somewhat gain a capacity to gain more knowledge in terms of football related activities as well?
I feel like it can definitely play a role, but I feel like there's a certain switch that you got to hit in your head for football,
Hmm.
and because you'll have certain guys that, in the classroom, like when it comes down to, learning, right triangles and geometry and everything like that. When it comes to book smart and education, they're on point,
Right.
but then you take them out there and put them in a football setting where they have to learn a playbook or learn different techniques and fundamentals and be able to regurgitate it on the field live. Some guys really can't comprehend and do that. So I've seen guys that were like 4.0 students and it didn't really translate to the field, as much as you would think.
Okay.
So I will say it can play a role, but for me personally, God has really just blessed me with the ability to just kind of get a feel for different things that are happening in the flow of the game.
Got it. Speaking education wise, obviously you seem to be a fairly good student. What was your major that you chose in college, and why'd you choose that specific major?
So I got my degree in business administration, but my actual major is computer information systems. And
Got
I
it.
actually I actually chose that because at the time, I really wanted to get into the business world,
Hmm.
and I wanted to eventually, own my own company and things like that one day. But at the same time, I knew a degree in business management would be too broad coming out of
Right.
school, and I kind of wanted something I could narrow down. And I've always been pretty good with technology and computers and things like that growing up. So, why I figured why not choose something like that where I could go ahead and build up um, different certifications and things like that that would help my base pay salary when I came out. So, I went out, I got certified in Apple Swift programming language. I'm a certified Amazon Web Services cloud practitioner and
Hmm.
IBM blockchain essentials, things like that. And just steady, trying to build up my resume for when I come out, they can see, yeah, okay, he has a degree and no real experience in the work field, but at the same time, he has certifications to back him up so we know that he actually can perform. So that was a big thing, a reason why I chose that. So I could really kind of get ahead of the game with different things. And then, technology not going nowhere. So It's
Right.
always gonna be a field and a job for that.
Right. I agree. I agree for sure. That's actually very interesting, because obviously when a lot of people look at athletes, they look at them as strictly football players, but it's great that you have this like extensive profile where not only are you working so hard on the field, but you also have the ability to do so many other things that just shows the like the true person that you are outside of the athlete.
Yeah, that and I appreciate you saying that. And it's like I don't know, like the way I was brought up, my parents they would always tell me, football was always a big part of my life, but just to always realize, you're more than just an athlete,
Right.
like because at the end of the day, football is only going to take you so far. Even if you have one of the longer careers and you have a 20-year career, after them 20 years, what are you going to do after that? So it's one thing to be financially literate as well, learn how to take care of your money for the future. But it's always a good idea, to be well rounded. So, worst comes to worst, you will always have something you can fall back on and do.
Definitely, definitely. And like one of the major things, right, at least for an HBCU student like yourself, one of the major or like accomplishments, right, was being selected to the HBCU combine where only 40 prospects could go. Getting that invitation, how did it feel for you? Did you feel like it was the next step in your aspirations to become an NFL player?
Oh man, yeah, it's definitely it was one of those things. I was just very grateful for that opportunity because I just remember playing with phenomenal players and they really didn't get any recognition, like once the season was over with, when it came to just having a pro day and there was no telling like what scouts would be there to even watch them perform. And even if they went out to their pro day and put up big numbers, it's not really getting any attention, because nobody was really there for a lot of different guys. So, and I know it's like that at a lot of different HBCUs. So with them adding, the HBCU combine, it was just one of those things where it's like, okay, it's real now.
Mhm.
Like this is a real opportunity. You're part of the first annual group, so it's like you guys got to show out and perform out there. So, I was definitely elated when I saw that I did get the invitation, but at the same time in my head I'm like, okay, it's time to go to work. It's real now.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And I mean, one like intriguing part about you, right, is in a way your loyalty at the collegiate level. Like after two fairly productive seasons at Alabama State, you could have had the option to transfer, yet you chose to stay at Alabama State throughout the entirety of your 4 years, despite like not getting the recognition necessarily that you might deserve. What was part of your decision in staying at Alabama State for the entirety of your collegiate career, and instead of maybe transferring to a more known school?
I feel like I actually felt like I was good where I was at,
Mhm.
because of the fact that I was there for so long. I ended up becoming a 4-year team captain, and I know a
Right.
lot of the guys on the team and stuff with the turmoil and ups and downs and coaching changes and things like that. Being at that school for so long, I pretty much seen it all, and I had guys that were working under me that that helped me become the player I was, and I wanted to help them out as well. So I really just didn't see as big of a benefit as just transferring to another school and really just the unknown circumstances that would have came with that. Anything could have happened, and I felt like if it was truly for me to transfer, God would have opened that door for me to go down that path. But those doors, I was fine where I was at Alabama State. Those doors really didn't open themselves for me to go and do something like that. And I feel like I wasn't being pushed to do anything like that. So, I figured if the scouts are gonna find you and you doing what you need to do, stay at the school you at.
Yeah, and I mean, one of your biggest performances, one of the ones that I found myself enamored with, right? Maybe you remember the game, maybe you don't. Against Jackson State in 2020, you had 195 yards, you had three touchdowns in a 23 carry game, probably one of your best career collegiate games. Like in that type of like experience against obviously Jackson State, now one of the more well-known HBCUs out there. How did you like in a way? How did that like kind of performance like tell you that you in a way belonged at that type of level and could perform at such a high level going forward?
Oh man, it was just one of those experiences where it was just like, okay, you go out there and you perform on such a big stage like this. let's see how things change for you. And things changed drastically. I felt like I was always a pretty good player, but after that game, I definitely started getting a lot of recognition. And
Right.
and just in my head, I always that whole week of preparation, I knew it was at stake. We were going in. Jackson State was coming into our territory, but they were coming in undefeated. Coach Sanders, he had never lost a game in that conference at that time, leading up to that time, and I
Hmm.
knew all eyes would be on us. And I guess you know what their mindset was like. In my head, it was just kill or be killed. Make or break type moments, and I couldn't speak for them, what they had going on, like leading up to the game, like all the outside factors and stuff like that. But I just knew Ezra Gray has to go out there and perform, and God really blessed me to be able to perform on that big stage.
Yeah, and I mean, to me, at least when I watch you, it seems like no moment really is too big for you. Speaking specifically to that game, right? There's less than 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter. It's 28-28. They have one play at the 50-yard line, and what do? They hand it off to you, and you get a 50-yard touchdown to win the game. Like, it feels like every moment you just embrace the moment and play through it. Do you think that that type of assessment is true?
Yeah, I definitely say it was true. And then, I got a lot of help from my linemen as well on that play. They they
Yeah,
blocked it up perfectly. And then even the receivers, I went back and watched the film. They went going downfield block. I believe it was Jeremiah Hickson going downfield blocking to help me finish the play and things like that. Like it's just I had a lot of faith in my guys and they had a lot of faith in me as well. And that was one thing
hmm,
that we harped, and it was just crazy to see because it was one thing that we harped on that Thursday night before we traveled to the team hotel for the game. Like we were just watching film and I remember talking to Jeremiah and letting him know like, okay, like plays like that, how the receivers are blocking downfield, like that stops it turns a 20-yard play into a 50-yard touchdown, things like that. And he told me
right.
after the game, he remembered what we talked about, and it definitely played dividends for us. But as far as like moments being big and things like that, I know at the end of the day, I just gotta go out and perform to the best of my ability.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I know earlier in the offseason, I was watching some of the interviews that you did, and you said like being wearing a Jacksonville Jaguars uniform when you were growing up, you said you'd love to return to Jacksonville. And me as a 49ers content creator, I don't know if I like the sound of that, but still, I'd appreciate that. And like, how would it feel for you if you returned to Jacksonville and played for them in the NFL?
Oh, it'd be crazy, man. It'd be insane. Like I'm out there in Duval County with them boys in Jacksonville, man. It definitely would be, like a dream come true just to play on any, NFL team. But
Right,
to be in Florida, know the environment, know what the weather's like and things like that. And I feel like being not a hometown kid, but a home state kid,
right.
I get a lot of love out there. And that'd definitely be something I'd definitely be interested in, man. It's just one of those things. It's nothing like that Florida football, man. And to be able to represent the state of Florida playing on an NFL team, that's what any kid can ask for.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, another intriguing comment that I saw when I was looking at some of your old stuff, you said earlier this year that you don't necessarily care if you get drafted or not because the goal is to make a 53-man roster. And I found that so interesting because so many players look for the draft, but it seems like your eyes are on bigger goals. You want to make that NFL roster. So really, what does that kind of like uh, tell about you? And do you think that you'll have an extra chip on your shoulder should you go undrafted into making that 53-man roster?
Oh, most definitely. I don't want to move fast. I want to move correctly. I'm in it, for the long run of things. I don't want to
Right,
be one of those guys who's just kind of like give a good spurt and then they're done. Their career is essentially pretty much over with. Like I'm coming in knowing that I have a lot to prove. Being an HBCU athlete, and the level of competition that we play versus, somebody from a Power 5 school or things like that. It's definitely gonna be stereotypes and things like that placed on me. But I'm not in it for things like that. Like I understand I'm gonna have a job to do, and I'm whatever team I end up going to, I'm really just go in and put the work in. I'm not really interested in okay, he gets drafted here or something like that, and then he plays a year and then he's done. I want to go somewhere where I fit into the scheme. I fit into everything that's going on in the culture of the team and end up being that player that has a long career.
Yeah, I mean, like we've heard a lot, right? Today, you're one of the better people that I've seen. Such a strong work ethic and everything. When an NFL team is getting Ezra Gray, what kind of guy are they getting in that locker room, work ethic wise and everything? What are you going to bring to the NFL game?
Man, I'm bringing a lot of passion, and not just passion for playing on Sundays, but
Right.
passion in the process as well. Somebody who's real deal dedicated to the grind and dedicated their whole life to what everything football entails. I'm one of those guys where I enjoy the days, the workouts and things like that where everybody knows it's gonna be hard. The days that everybody is one of those dog days where everybody knows like it's those workouts after practice where it's like, man, I'm straight on working out today, man. They done killed us in practice and stuff like that. But I enjoy moments and opportunities like that because I feel like that's where champions are made. That sets the people apart, the great ones, and having long lasting legacies and stuff like that. So I feel like you're gonna get somebody with a lot of passion, whatever team decides to select.
Definitely. And I mean, one of the underrated skills, right, that you have, a lot of people are saying Ezra Gray, he's a running back. But to me, when I see it, I also view you as a good kick returner, right? You've returned kicks before and you at least play special teams. What type of, what do you think about special teams and how much effort do you put towards special teams itself, which is a key integral component of the game, no matter what people see?
It's funny you say that, man, because it seems like these past few years, like when the season starts off, I actually play every single special teams, believe it or not. But I kind of they didn't want to just run me into the ground with different
Right.
stuff. So eventually I had to come off of those teams. But I played a lot of kickoff. I played on punt. I did punt return, kickoff return, and kickoff return mainly was my bread and butter. I remember
Mhm.
one season I had broke the school record for return yards, single season return
2018.
yards.
Yeah,
And
2018.
yeah, and then
536.
return average as well. So
Mhm.
just being blessed to be able to have the vision in certain things on kickoff return, I feel like really plays a big part of my game because
Yeah.
yeah, honestly, that was my bread and butter to get on the field when I first got to Alabama State. I wasn't playing right away, and they needed a kick returner and things like that. So like any opportunity I got to get the ball in my hands, like let's do it, let's rock out. But I was able to do that, and then over time become a all conference returner, doing what I needed to do.
Yeah, I mean, that's like that just shows to your dimensional kind of player that the player that you are because not only do you provide running back not only are you a good running back, you can also provide special teams depth. And the thing is a lot of players don't necessarily come into the league with that special teams capacity because they haven't played it before. And so the transition might be a little harder. Whereas for you, you already have the good experience at it, which is vital, especially to a team like the one that I cover, the 49ers, where they love players who like to not only play their offensive or defensive position, but also save a roster spot because they can play special teams as well. And so, going to my next question in a way, like you to me are one of the more interesting players in this draft at the running back position. What separates you from other players in this draft?
I'd like to say my versatility. I see a lot of different running backs who they can go out and they can catch out of the backfield and things like that, and that's all great. But I really feel like at times I can become a Swiss Army knife. I
Got
feel
it.
like I'm great in the backfield with my vision, cutting ability, running between the tackles, but I can also line up in the slot as well. My route running, I've definitely been perfecting that over my years at Alabama State, and of course, it's not perfect, but I feel like it's good enough to play, at an NFL level. So really just going out there, being able to up in the slot and do different versatile things, kind of like Tyreek Hill and guys like that. And shoot, even, for the 49ers, like Debo Samuel, so I feel like that really plays a big part of my game as far as how I stand out.
Yeah, I mean, that's important, right, at the NFL level where roles aren't necessarily defined, at least in today's NFL, and especially in an offensive league where players trying or teams try and get the most out of players possible. You talked earlier, right, about how you were now you're a 4-year captain. how have you kind of like grown year to year in a way to be the player that you are today at Alabama State?
It's just it's always been a learning process for me. Like I was never the type of player who just felt like, okay, I've arrived, like I've made it. I'm at the form where I'm this or I'm that. But it's just always constantly learning from everyone around me. I was a pretty good running back, but even when I would go out there, like I said, with route running with the receivers and things like that, I'm always going trying to learn something new. Like even if the guys are younger than me, you know, it might be a guy that's a freshman and he does something very well that I might not do as well. And I'm always constantly trying to learn from the guys who I'm around, and I'm really, really just growing through them. They say I help them out a lot, but they help me out a lot as well. So really just taking different things from different players and modeling my game certain ways. I feel like that's helped me to grow into who I am.
Got it, got it, got it. Okay. I mean, that kind of shows, right, where at least now since you're a captain, it kind of shows how you've encapsulated somewhat of a leader role, which can translate well into a locker room because I know a lot of NFL teams value that like kind of that leadership experience because not only do you have like the ability to learn and take in information at the NFL level, but you also have like a sense of accountability. And I think that at least with your profile from what you've shown today, that kind of do you think that that resonates with you?
Oh, most definitely. I all my years at Alabama State, I think the only time that I got in trouble for like a team rule or something like that, I want to say is it was one time we had like a 3 o'clock practice or something like that, and I didn't get out of class until like I want to say 2:55 because the professor held us up, and my class was at the other end of campus. So I got there a little bit late, and the coach gave me a little bit of slack for that. But it one of them slap on the wrist type deals. But yeah, as far as accountability and things like that, I just feel like at the end of the day, my high school coach Jeremy Brown, he's always told me at the end of the day, we got one rule: do right. Be where you're
Right.
supposed to be there on time, be punctual, take care of your business. So I feel like that translated to an NFL level. That's exactly what they ask their guys to do. You show up, take care of your job, you leave, clock out.
Definitely, definitely. I mean, speaking of the NFL, obviously, like you, there are a lot of good running backs, not only going into the draft this year, but also at the NFL level now. Are you excited to play with any specific player, or do you model your game after a specific player in the NFL currently?
I would say, I kind of model my game in a way in some aspects to what certain guys are doing, but not the whole package within it, if you understand what I'm saying. Like
Yeah,
it's like things that Tyreek Hill does really well that I really like the way he utilizes his game speed on some of his routes and things like that versus, technique wise in the route running. And that's a big part that I look at. And I was real big on Christian McCaffrey and Alvin Kamara as well. Just the way that they're evolving the whole running back position because this day and age it's not just about those power backs that are running through the tackles and things like that, but it's guys who they can spread out in a slot and still be efficient and still be productive for the team. So I look at guys like that and I try to model my game in such way.
got it, got it. And I mean, like you said earlier, right? You look at yourself as versatile, where you might not necessarily have a lot of NFL players in that kind of in that kind of like or at least with that type of profile. So taking different elements of different players, that sounds sensible, and I mean it does prove to what you show on tape for sure.
Most definitely, man. It's just one of those things where I feel like once you grow as a player, you get to the point where you can identify what you do well and what you need to work on to improve your game. And it's one thing to see guys go out there and have one productive year and they just feel like, okay, like that's it. Like that's my thing. That's what I need to do. I don't really need to do anymore. And you'll see that with guys like when they end up having a drop off a big year and then they just kind of end up fading and fading. But I want to be one of those players where their game is constantly evolving because the game's
Right.
always changing. Like even with the offenses that we're seeing this day and age in the NFL, and just like the offenses are evolving, defensive schemes are doing the same thing. So I don't want to be that type of guy where you cut on the film and you watch him, you can see tendencies on him because he's doing the same thing over and over and over again.
Yeah. And one thing I wanted to ask, like Alabama State, at least from what I've seen, they normally utilize running backs that aren't as big, maybe not over the 200-pound realm, at least for the majority of the time that you were there. Like, how do you think that your skills can translate to the NFL game coming from a predominantly speed type of offense where the scheme might be best suited for an outside zone type of scheme where you can utilize that speed at your 5'9", 171-pound frame behind that offensive line that you played at Alabama State?
Yeah, that 171. I don't know who got me weighed in at that. I
What do
don't
you
know
at
who
now?
got me weighed in at that, man. I walk around at like 185, but you
Perfect.
know,
Okay.
yeah, but no, and that's the thing too. With me and my size, like on paper, you'll see a bunch of different things. Like a lot of people just be writing up random stuff on me about my size and stuff like that. But it's all good though. But as far as like with my size translating that to the NFL, it's guys who I've seen in the NFL who I'm the same size as, who are very productive and very efficient. I see guys like DeAnthony Thomas going in
Mm,
and doing this thing. So for me visually and guys like Tariq Cohen as well.
right.
So me visually, when I see them accomplishing certain things on the field, I feel like I can do the same thing,
Yeah,
and that's one of the things I kind of pride myself on is just not only proving it to the rest of the league, but proving it to myself as well. I like I said, growing up, I've never always been like the biggest kid out there on the field and things like that. I've always had to deal with different disadvantages, but I feel like it's all about the way you adapt to the game. You got to adjust and adapt.
definitely, definitely. And I think maybe to wrap this one off, like you at a 5'9", 185 build, right? This past year, you shared carries kind of for the first time in somewhat of a split committee role, where your fellow running back had about 120 carries, you had about 100 carries this year. Going into this year, or going into the NFL, do you think you're more primed for a running back by committee role where you can utilize your skills while also preserving your body? I know my favorite team, the San Francisco 49ers, utilize that running back by committee. At least it's a concept somewhat grasped by the NFL teams nowadays. Do you think that that type of NFL style is going to help you going forward because you can learn from more people, or do you think you can also be primed for a role where you're the primary running back as well?
I feel like I could handle both, but like you said, it really plays a big advantage when it's a running back by committee role because I feel like it adds to the longevity of your game as well. Playing running back is a very brutal and taxing position on your body. You
Right.
get hit literally every play, whether it's the pass blocking aspect, and even when you're not getting the ball on play action and stuff like that, like you're still probably gonna get hit. So it's just one of
Exactly.
those positions where if you're in a spot where you can take less mileage and take less of a beating on your game in game out basis, it's just one of those opportunities for you to set yourself up to have a longer career.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I see this comparison here, Darren Sproles 2.0. How do you feel about that?
My man Tony, man. What's up, Tony? I feel like it's pretty accurate. And even watching the video that he had put up with the whole analysis of Darren Sproles, it was clips of Darren Sproles that I've never seen before that I kind of look at and I'm like, okay, his movement and his frame, the way he carries his body is kind of the same how I do things as well. So, Darren Sproles, if I could be compared to somebody like that, man, that's all the more, man. He's a great, great running back.
Definitely, and even better special teamer as well. Like you
Mhm.
potentially have the potential to be for sure. But Ezra, it's been a great half hour here. I hope everybody watching in, everybody tuning in, can get to see the type of person that you are really going into this NFL draft. Thank you for coming on. It's a great pleasure for you to be one of my first NFL interviews. And yeah, I hope you have a great rest of the way with your NFL process coming up to the draft.
Man, I appreciate you having me on, Rohan. This whole experience has been great, man. And shoot, I salute everything you've been doing.
Thank you, brother. And for all that's still here, make sure you guys hit that like button. Make sure you guys hit the subscribe button. Me and Marco are going to be back with some more content, potentially even some more draft content coming up soon. Ezra, It's been a great day, and I'll catch you next time, man.
All right, my man.